Hello everybody, this video is for ESM 105. I'm going to show you how to get started on your annotated bibliography in case you haven't begun collecting sources yet. Alright, this is almost the middle of the semester and you don't want to let this sneak up on you because it can take quite a bit of time. You want to do a couple of these each week, and just stick up with it. Sorry for the casual attire. This is a weekend recording, so I'm doing it from home. Here we go. Let's open up the browser. Whoa. There we go. All right. So the first thing that I'm recommending is that you use EndNote Basic. Some of you have mentioned that your other classes have you using Zotero as a citation manager, and I don't have a problem with you using Zotero if you're more comfortable with it. But in my tutorial today, I'm going to do EndNote Basic for you. So simple Google search for the phrase EndNote Basic, all right, will bring you to some links. Skip past those sponsored links as usual. You know how to use Google. And then the first one right here is a good link. It'll take you to a page where there is another link, Get EndNote Basic. Going directly to EndNote's site can be a little tricky because they will try to get you to sign up for their paid version. You really don't need it. EndNote Basic is free. It's entirely online, and it's a good service. I've been using it for 10, 12 years at this point. So you're going to need to register for an account, okay? So pause the video, go ahead and register, and I'll be here when you get back. All right, now you're registered, you've made an EndNote account. Now you can sign in. Now my EndNote is already loaded up with all these sources from my dissertation and publications that I've done, and I've been using this for a while, so I've got a decent number of citations here. You can even see on the left side of the screen that I have my references grouped. Okay, grouped based on, different publications, okay? It's really nice because you import your citations into this service, then you can group up, organize your citations, and then if you want to try to publish an article, like this biochar establishment paper, if I want to try to publish this in a different journal that requires different citation formatting, all I have to do is tell it to format a bibliography using my biochar establishment paper citations, and then I can select any format. You can select additional formats through the select favorites option. You should see all of the options here when you click this. And then I can tell it to just give me a preview, and here's a full citation in APA format. It makes life really easy. And then if I need to do it in Harvard or whatever. So that's just my little tutorial about why EndNote is useful. Now let's look at how to actually collect references in EndNote. All right. So let's say you're sitting down and you're about to prepare your annotated bibliography. The first thing you have to do, right, is select a topic. It's easiest if you select a topic that you're genuinely interested in, and something where it's not going to be too difficult to find 20 relevant articles that you can include in your annotated bibliography. So one student has come to my office hours and wanted to do something about predator reintroduction for conservation. Okay, that's great. A nice general subject like that means it'll be easier to find more varied examples of articles that relate. Okay, so let's try just going into Google Scholar. Now I'm in Google Scholar because this is going to show me all articles, which is good. You don't want to be doing a bunch of websites, news reports, things with what we assume to have more potential for bias or being untrustworthy. So let's go ahead and just search for reintroduction of predators in California. Okay. And you can scroll around through your results and try to find something that looks interesting. Okay, rewilding through reintroduction. That sounds like an interesting topic. I've already looked at this article here, The Ethics of Reintroducing Large Carnivores, the case of the California grizzly. So if you are interested specifically in something like that, it's a good article. Now, you watching this video, don't take this one, do something else, because a student has already sort of started this project. So let's just go ahead and make an adjustment on the fly here. And I'm going to go with, let's go with peat moss mining effects on ecosystems. We talked about peat moss recently. Detrimental effects of peat mining on amphibian abundance and species richness in bogs. Okay, I've decided I'm going to do a project on peat mining. Sounds good. Immediately I find some articles. I can sort them, by time, sort them by date, sort them by relevance. But at the beginning, when you're just getting started, it's good to just find an article that is interesting. Whether it's new, whether it's old, isn't so important initially, because I'm going to show you a trick to bounce from article to article in order to find, more modern ones or fill out your 20 citations, really. Let's look right here. Environmental impact of peat mining, development of stormwater treatment methods. I like this one. Detrimental effects of peat mining on amphibian abundance and species richness in bogs. Let's take a look if this is available. This is from an article. You can see right here. Do we have access to it? We do. So sometimes you'll find an article that looks good, but you don't have access to the full article. It's a shame if that happens, but you can just keep searching, try to find something that works a little better for you. You might be able to get it through the library, but that system, if you've tried to use it, can be pretty difficult to navigate. So anyway, we take a look at this article. I'm going to just initially scroll through the abstract, find, quantify the effects of peat mining on amphibian species richness. I'm immediately noticing how they've written it as I then investigated, which is strange. I guess it is one author writing this, but it's not, it's a single person's work. Is kind of surprising to find. Anyway, peat mining negatively impacts amphibians occurring in bog remnants. The response of amphibians to peat mining is similar to the one of birds and plants. It differs with small mammals. Okay, they have a call to action sort of statement here of maintaining complex mosaic of bog, ponds, shrub, and forest patches might help mitigate peat mining effects. Okay, this is an article that's going to have some information about how peat mining is detrimental to the environment, and they might even have some guidance on how peat mining should be adjusted. There's going to be something good here, I'm immediately looking at this article and I'm saying this is probably going to be decent. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is get this into my citation manager so that I can easily cite it later. If you go back to your Google Scholar result and you hit the Cite button right here, yes, you can just copy and paste from the citations that it produces for you, but it's nice to have all your citations in one place so you don't have to manually edit and reformat. You can get everything into your citation manager. So let's go ahead and click this EndNote button right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to download a very small file, okay, which you can then import into EndNote. I go over to EndNote and I'm going to import a reference. So I go to Collect, I go to Import Reference, and then I'm going to be importing from a file. So I can just go and drag that file directly from my little recent download history here. Import option, EndNote import. Okay, there are some other options that give you different functions. I'm just going to put this into my demonstration for students group where I put things like this. Now you'll probably want to create a new group for your project, and you would all call it something like Annotated Bibliography Project, right? Let's go ahead and import. I'm gonna just do all the steps to help you out. Annotated Bibliography. Bibliography. There we go. Now we've got the annotated bibliography group. Very good. So I could theoretically leave this window open and continuously import sources while I'm working. So what I do now is I find that I like this article. I'm going to go back and read it in more detail in order to fill out the couple of paragraphs that I need to write for each source. But based on looking at the abstract and some of the results, that briefly, I'm like, this is going to be relevant. I can summarize this article, no problem. Now, from this one good article, okay, I can look at the articles that cited this article. So this is really nice. This is a really nice button right here, cited by 55, you're going to see. There are also related articles, which can be good. You know, plenty of decent related stuff. Google's got a little algorithm that's at play there. Or you can look at the other authors and the other papers that have cited this paper. So I'm going to go to cited by, and I'm going to find restoration of degraded boreal peatlands. That sounds pretty good. I click this article. And I find that this is a chapter in a book, okay? And it looks like I only have a preview of this book chapter, so it's less than ideal. And while the title sounded very enticing, and if I was going to actually do this research project or study this specific boreal peatland ecosystem function and threats to it, I'd probably get this book. We're not going to go that route. We're going to go back and look for an additional article. Animal and vegetation patterns in natural and man-made bog pools. Okay, so we're talking about restoration, we're talking about mining. Now we've got man-made bog pools. What does a man-made bog pool look like? Well, let's see if this article has any good information for us. We've got a full article. That's the first thing to check. Okay, full access. That's great. Results. Discussion sections, they got figures, it's all looking good. Let's check out that abstract real quick to see if we think it's a halfway decent article. Boom, boom. Assess whether bog pools created during restoration are similar to natural bog pools. That's pretty great, okay? So now I'm working on this annotated bibliography and I'm thinking, okay, now my view is sort of expanded. I was just thinking about peat mining and its effects. Now I'm thinking about peatland deterioration in general, okay, and peatland restoration. So now my annotated bibliography might have a topic more of peatland risks and hope, or peatland risks and restoration. You see how in doing the annotated bibliography, the scope has sort of changed, okay? So that's pretty nice. I like the looks of this article already. And sometimes when you go back and read these, you'll find it's a bust. Sometimes you run into a bad article. But just looking at this abstract, I'm excited specifically about this, whether the bog pools created during restoration are similar to natural bog pools. And then I can scroll down and see they've got tables, they have outcomes, they have results that I could compare. And in my couple of paragraphs that I write, I would put, oh yeah, then it looks like the artificial bog pools had differences in pH from the natural bog pools. Something like that. Okay? Cool. I found this article interesting because blank, blank, blank. So now I'd back out of that. Here's my little page, my Google Scholar results, and I'm going to go ahead and I cite this article. I hit cite, EndNote, it downloads it. I go to EndNote. I drag that file in. Oh, 1 second. I drag that file in. Okay. EndNote import. I'm putting it into my annotated bibliography. I hit import. And now that's in there as well. Let's just get 3. So now I could continue looking through this page. All right. And that'd be great. I'm sure there's other stuff here. Pond occupancy by frogs that are kind of for detectability. That's probably just referencing their methods. These things aren't so specific. Ooh, use of remote sensing to look at peatland changes after drainage for peat extraction. This is more peat mining stuff. Hit this. There's going to be another technique. You can talk about how, oh, you can use remote sensing to keep track of the progress of peat degradation following, or peat bog degradation following peat extraction. You see how it all sort of just starts to fall together? Environmental impact assessment was done. People are saying, oh, there's no, okay, cool. Difficult lack of historical data of the impact of peat drainage. Great. This is going to be a good article as well. I can already tell just from that abstract that it's going to address some important things. Oh, and it uses NDVI, which is a cool technique. We love it. All right. This is great. Yeah. So see how this is what I expect like you to be doing initially, is looking for the articles like this. I hit cite of this one. I download the EndNote file, and I just keep on putting citations in. Oh, 1 second, I'm recording a video. I'm just going to leave that in the video. All right. Cool. So check it out, folks. I import that file, same option, annotated bibliography, boom. And I can do the exact same process I've been showing you, where I could click on sources that cited one of those articles. So if I really liked this article here, I can look for sources that cited it, and I just keep on going down the rabbit hole. And you can see I already got 3 in this little 5-minute period. So what's next? You've got all of your different articles, right? As you're doing this, it's a pretty good idea to download these PDFs if possible, because it's going to be easiest to access them that way. You just go to PDF, and you can usually just download the file. Or you can search for the article title in a way that I'll show you in just a second. Let's go ahead and get the bibliography organized. I go to Format, Bibliography, References, Annotated Bibliography right here. I'm doing it in the APA format, and I'm just going to tell it HTML, preview, and print. That's going to open up this window that has everything exported in a single document, in a single page. I can just highlight, Control-C to copy it, and then paste it into a blank document, a blank Word document. And now I've got 3 sources included here. It's great. All I'm going to have to do is make space underneath and then write this article, focus, write my, few sentences, my couple of paragraphs, honestly, a couple of paragraphs about the article, what it includes, okay, why it was interesting. You might even start to see overlap in authors, and that's always interesting to see when people are citing their own work, It's a fun search. Creating an annotated bibliography will expose you to all sorts of interesting things. Okay, great. Now, I'm going to suggest, right, that you try to get all of your sources sort of together, so that when you export the bibliography, everything's already automatically alphabetized. It'll make life a little easier. But it's fine if you do it piece by piece. Like you get 3 sources, you write the annotations, you find more sources, you export the bibliography, and then you just copy and paste them into the same Word document and move things around. So I'm hoping that this shows you how to locate sources and how starting the annotated bibliography with a broad idea, you can start to dial in what you want your annotated bibliography to be relevant to. It doesn't need to be especially specific. It can be a broad topic. You need 20 sources that relate to that topic, things that you would read if you were trying to conduct a project on that topic. You're not going to be doing this topic, just producing the annotated bibliography. Okay? So the last little thing I'll say is, let's say you did what I've sort of suggested, where you went around and you found 20 sources that you think all looked good based on their abstracts and their results. And you imported them all into EndNote, and you have a little work group that's got 20 different sources in it. And then you exported this bibliography. But you didn't download all of the files or anything like that. It's fine, because all you have to do to find these articles is just copy the article title, go back to your Google Scholar page, which I closed, but that's okay. Go back to your Google Scholar, paste the title in, and there you go. Then you find the article again. It's just that straightforward. So my recommendation is get started now. Start importing sources into your EndNote account. Okay? Get your EndNote account established. Start importing sources. Before you know it, you'll have 20. Then you can go back, read them all, write little summaries of them. Okay? If you've got additional questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. I have office hours that you can drop by on. On the ESM homepage, you can see annotated bibliography information with a full description of the assignment, as well as an example of an annotated bibliography written by the previous instructor of this course, Jeffrey Dunk. All right, you can see it all right here. Now, Jeffrey did went pretty in depth into each of these. Your responses don't necessarily need to be quite this long, but at the end of the day, your paper should be between 8 to as many as 15 pages. All right. If you've got additional questions, please reach out, let me know, and get started on this ASAP, because if you do it piecemeal, it's going to be way more approachable. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in class.